great lessons for today, all of them, all encompassing about our faith. Take them home with you and read them and ponder them some more. This gospel from Mark is very well known to us. It even has a name, the widow's mite, like the Good Samaritan, the prodigal son, and many, many others, a name for a very important gospel, which really means that people identify with the story. When I was reading the lessons to prepare for this message, all I could think about was politics, occupation, and the role of women. For about 15 minutes, I really reflected on all of those and decided that I really shouldn't go there with those three topics, because they're still as timely today as they were in the time of Jesus. So I asked myself the first question: what is a mite? I was pretty sure it was a small coin, but a mite. This word has lasted for so many years. So off to the internet I went, and a mite was a small bronze coin minted by Alexander of Judea. You can actually buy mite coins on the internet at christiancoins.com. You can buy a coin necklace. Seriously, I was shocked. So when reviewing these lessons for the Sunday that I'm preaching, I always have to have a lot of time to think about them and to think about what I want to share about this gospel message. And today you're going to get the gospel again. Gospel times 2, but this time primarily from my friend Mike Siebert, but also for those of us who really enjoy reading from King James from time to time. There's a richness of story and of language. So here it is, times 2. And he said to them in his doctrine, "Beware of the scribes, which love to go in long clothing and love salutations in the marketplace, and the chief seats in the synagogues and the uppermost rooms for the feasts, which devour women's houses, and for a pretense of making long prayers, these shall receive greater damnation." Damnation's a very, very strong word. And Jesus sat over against the treasury and beheld how the people cast money into the treasury, and many that were rich cast much. And there came a certain poor widow, and she threw in 2 mites, which makes a farthing. And he called upon his disciples, and saith unto them, "Verily I say unto you, that this poor widow hath cast more in than all of they which have cast into the treasury. For they did this out of their abundance, but she did of her want cast in all that she had, even her living." Wonderful words. Verily I say unto you. I'm sure most of us here remember those words from a different time in our life. For those like me who tend to forget what a scribe is, they were the authority speakers of the day, the lawyers. No small bronze coin in King James, just a farthing, a quarter of a penny. I have a farthing somewhere in my house, but more treasured than that simple coin is the memories my grandmother shared with me on what you could buy for a farthing. Like many generations, small coins become less valuable as time goes on. Think of the pennies that we all have in boxes or jars in our house. They cost more to make than they are actually worth, yet we keep minting those simple pennies. So back to the gospel. It's one of the many money parables. Are you surprised that it comes up in this season of stewardship? They always come up. The parable of the tenants, paying taxes to Caesar, giving unto Caesar what is Caesar's, giving unto God what is God. the season of stewardship. But set the picture in your mind of this story of Jesus and the disciples watching the crowds. What was Jesus thinking? He was watching. He was waiting. Was he wondering if he had taught his disciples enough about humanity and the kingdom of God? What was he thinking? Can you see the scribes in their robes, the rich people in their fine clothing? Was there a procession when they offered their gifts? Or is that how we perceive it today? Anyone who has attended the consecration of a bishop knows about processions. And for those of you who have not done so yet, go to the internet and watch the commissioning, the investiture of our new presiding bishop. There was a long procession. It was wonderful, it was glorious, trumpet sounding, organ, wonderful. So was there a procession, or was it just a very casual walking by? What did it look like? We in this place like our processions. We like our Easter Day, our Christmas Eve, our Pentecost. Are processions a reflection of who we are, or do they come from some ancient ritual? I don't know. Look it up. Think about it. But in this story, I don't see any religious pageantry in the story about the rich giving to the treasury in the temple. I see mortal men flaunting their wealth, which comes from their allegiance to the Roman occupiers. Money that is not a reflection of their commitment and faith, a reflection of making them look larger than life and very wealthy. Giving is about faith, not about wealth. Let's take a closer look at the widow. Widows in biblical times were cast out of their homes, left with no assets, and no way to make a living to feed their children. We tend to think about widows as being old women. In biblical times, children were born to teens in their early and late teens. They were not born in 30s and 40s because most women did not live that long. Think about the women in our world today who have no status, no rights, no protections. They are treated as property. Millions of women and girls are sold into slavery every year. It's no different. No different. So who is this faceless, nameless woman? Like many women in the Bible, no name, no face. What was her name, I asked myself. What was her story? How old was she? How many children did she have? Was she real, or was she a reflection of the women who lived in many places where Jesus traveled? Until I looked deeper into the words of the gospel, I always saw this woman as a victim, powerless, homeless, and without any support and any community around her. In digging deeper, I now believe that the woman was powerful, strong, and faithful. She had enough. Her giving of her 2 coins gave her great joy. In giving from what she had, she was a reflection of her strength and her commitment to her community. Her giving did not come from her wealth. It came from her deep, abiding faith. It's no secret, as I said before, that this lesson comes up in the season of stewardship, in the time of giving. There was a story this week about Jimmy and Rosalind Carter, who are very wealthy. They give of their wealth, their time, and their talents in thanksgiving for their role that their faith plays in their life. The former president and his wife were wearing their hard cats, tool belts, and giving to their favorite charity, Habitat for Humanity. We have to remember that former President Carter is 91, is suffering from liver and brain cancer, and yet he's still out there giving of himself. Again, it's not about wealth, it's about faith. When I was at our general convention this summer, they did the United Thank Offering in-gathering, and it's pretty amazing to sit there and see all of the provinces of our church come up and present their gifts. The Episcopal Church has a project called Mite Boxes, little blue boxes where people put small coins in and then give to the mission of the church. In 2015, UTO funded $1.5 million worth of projects. $1.5 million out of small coins. It's pretty transforming for the people who are on the receiving end of those coins. And we'll share some more about Mite Boxes in Lent 2006. Ours is a community of faith that has great abundance. We may wring our hands from time to time and worry and fret that there will not be enough. There is always enough. There has been enough for more than 125 years. We give in this parish to one another in our relationships with one another. We give our healing prayers every week to those in need. We give to the needs of the community beyond our walls, to the hungry, to the homeless, and to those whose needs are often never made fully known to us. And we are embarking on essential housing for those who have small and very fixed incomes. An amazing, amazing, amazing journey to be taking. Like most of you, in 2 weeks, I will be laying my pledge card on the altar in this wonderful worship space. As I walk up the aisle and place my gift on the altar, I will be thinking about the story of the widow and the story of Jesus watching and preaching and teaching his disciples in his own wonderful way. I will be giving out of my abundance because giving is always about faith, never about wealth.